Over the last few years, the journalism industry has changed significantly due to the introduction of online platforms. This raises many questions such as, how does this affect the people who work in this industry, and how does it affect us as consumers? To find out more, we've talked to Tony Keim, a senior journalist at the Queensland Law Society. So Tony, please introduce yourself to the camera.
Hi, my name's Tony Keim. I'm a senior writer at the Queensland Law Society. I've actually been a newspaper journalist for more than 30 years.
What was journalism like 30 years ago?
Okay, so when I started out in journalism, most journalists actually worked in regional Queensland, and so you actually had a bush assignment. My first one was out in Blackwater, and at that time you actually literally wrote all your stories, used to take your own photos, do your own darkroom work, and literally assist compositors in doing paste-ups rather than desktop publishing. So it was an era where it was interesting and a lot harder than it is today.
So when Blackwater was bought out by News Corp Australia, how did that affect the way it operated?
Yeah, so actually it's really timely. We were actually going through a phase even as recently as this week where actually newspapers are actually shutting down. So you've got the Queensland Times, which is the oldest newspaper in Queensland. It actually predates the Courier Mail, literally physically shutting their office. So the oldest newspaper will actually no longer have a presence in Queensland. So the sale of all of the news titles under the News Limited banner has actually seen pretty much the source of regional news dry up, and it's more centralised now. And again, a lot of that has to do with digital and access to online journalism, where there's no value from a commercial point of view in actually selling newspapers, even though there's still a market for it.
How has social media affected your readership?
Okay, so originally social media was really beneficial to the media. We actually had a greater audience, not just through our traditional platforms, whether it be newspaper or online, but we could actually get a wider audience. The dichotomy in that is that what's happened is it's given everyone the opportunity to publish. So you're actually getting untrained or citizen journalists reporting on matters that may not actually have the actual skills and ability and knowledge of law to be able to publish things authoritatively, fairly and balanced.
So how are news corporations trying to combat social media?
Okay, so with the introduction of social media, news services were actually providing news content free. They were actually generating revenue from their advertising. Then they decided that that was actually cutting into, whether it be their news bulletins and their ad revenues from TV broadcasts or newspapers. So then came the introduction of paywalls. Paywalls worked momentarily, but then also have suffered badly. Depending on who you talk to in the media, there is a school of thought that the whole media system, traditional system, is broken, and they are grasping at different ways of trying to keep readers engaged in their particular product.
How do you see the future of journalism?
I don't think we have any idea what it's going to look like, to be brutally honest. The traditional landscape of media has forever changed and it's not going back. There are a lot of journalists out there with the skills and the ability, just not the platforms in which to publish. So it's not looking particularly optimistic. My hope is that opportunities will arise again. We do actually have publications turning up and broadcasting quality journalism in regional centres. If that appetite remains, then there is hope for the future. At the moment, it's hard to actually feel optimistic about future for journalists moving forward. It's not a particularly good outlook for the profession. But again, as a person who has spent my life doing it, I'm optimistic that good journalism will still continue to happen.